Hey everybody, it's Cam from The Bulwark. I want to talk about tech bros and what they've done to our democracy so far and what's coming next. We're joined today by our contributor and friend, Lakshya Jain. Lakshya, you had a tweet about PEPFAR yesterday that was very interesting to me because it reminded me that we have kind of stopped talking about the devastation that Doge has done to not only this country, but to countries all around the world. I kind of wanted to talk to you about it because I feel like our attention has been diverted elsewhere, but Doge's consequences are still going to be felt for generations.
This is the thing for me. Life is irreversible. When someone dies, you can't just bring them back to life and say, oops, I messed up. And the human cost caused by Elon Musk deciding on one of his binges of cutting everything in the federal government that, hey, we're spending too much on sub-Saharan Africa is immeasurable. We have cost thousands, millions of lives in the long term just by our own actions. And there was no need to do that. And the argument he gave was specifically that, hey, we're spending too much. We got to get our spending under control. And two things to that. Number one, why the hell were you passing the one big beautiful bill then? And number two, what the hell made you think it was appropriate to first provide care to someone, as the United States did, and then yank treatment away mid-cycle? That's the thing. You can't give someone care and then take it away. It just fills me with rage.
There's a lot of situation in politics where binaries are not an appropriate way to measure things, but there are two options for the conservative response to this. Either cruelty or I don't even know what this means, because that's what you get from conservatives talking about cutting something like PEPFAR. You get them saying, okay, yeah, well, it's not our responsibility to make sure these Africans don't die. Or you get them just saying it's a good thing without even knowing what PEPFAR is. And I understand that acronyms are hard, especially when they're longer than 3 letters. But discussing that and discussing aid to Africa just made me think, like, I kind of want to roll through Doge's worst hits and talk about, because there's so many in so many different fields, and it's hard to, like you said, measure the damage that something like that dealt, and it will be something we're measuring decades from now. But like, where do you even fucking start? Because the thing is, in America, financial losses of ours are taken so much more seriously than mass death in Africa. And the thought of hundreds of thousands and millions of Africans dying is something that America just generally kind of shrugs off. But with Doge, you get both. With Doge, you get American financial institutions crumbling and you get hundreds of thousands of Africans dying. So like, if somebody was asking you what you think the 3 quintessential biggest areas Doge dealt damage to are, what would you say?
When we're looking at the greatest hits of Doge, I think number one, the federal worker job cuts are just immense. Firstly, roughly 1 in every 50 American households actually has like a federal worker as a contributing earning member of the household. That's actually tremendous. That makes the federal government the largest employer in the United States. But secondly, on top of all the job cuts, the human cost is immense, because by gutting the bureaucracy, you've made it so that people can't get their Social Security benefits in time. If there's an issue with Social Security or Medicare, well, who are they going to talk to? Because they shut down so many field offices all across America. And so seniors that have worked their entire life to provide for their family, but also keep the United States government going, are now suddenly unable to even get the fruits of their labor so that they can live with dignity in retirement. And then lastly, people will say, oh, the foreign aid cuts are in a different country. But the truth is, it's not that much of a niche abstract idea to say that America has a unique responsibility for the world given our power. Americans know this. Americans have actually seen over the last several decades the fruits of our aid towards other countries. I mean, just look at Ukraine and the fact that Kyiv isn't under occupation right now by Russia. So those are, to me, like the 3 biggest things. And those are all issues, by the way, in which Democrats enjoy like a huge advantage with the public because they saw what Musk's chaos did and they were not happy with it. Doge is possibly the most unpopular thing of the current Trump administration.
Well, I think also like a lot of MAGA types and bros who are still kind of feeling a little emotionally empowered by the cruelty that this government is just dishing upon I feel like they think it's kind of badass. Like I see a lot of I'm a badass when I'm seeing people tweet like, yeah, that's right, Africa. We're not paying for you to not get hepatitis anymore. It's like they feel like they're Iron Man walking away from the explosion without looking back. And they're like, I think that they get this sense of community from finding other people on the internet who feel like it's actually the awesome person thing to be like, yeah, we just prevented you from getting some sort of help. We just made it so hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of little kids are going to be dying of preventable diseases. Like, yeah, man, check it out. That's what we can do. That's what we do now in Donald Trump 2.0 is we let little kids die of hepatitis. So I don't really know what to do about that because it brings to mind something that is a larger issue of just the media and the human spirit and what it means to have any sort of society when, like, you know, we've got humanitarian crises, genocidal wars and other things in Haiti and the Congo and Sudan and Palestine, and the Ukrainians are under attack. Like, so the apathy from Americans is one thing, and it's understandable how people can be apathetic because there's so many different things in this world to be terrified by. But this is different. This isn't apathy. This is indulgence. This is people saying, oh, it's awesome that these people are going to die now because I'm not paying for it. Meanwhile, of course, the government is spending and spending and spending. But to what you were saying before, we said that the federal jobs, huge victim of Doge, one of the worst situations. Then we said, I mean, millions of people in Africa is a big one. Anything else that you would say is kind of a landmark Doge disaster?
I think just the deep cuts that it's done to the bureaucracy overall are going to have some long-term impacts because it takes multiple generations to build up the civil service into something that actually works. My parents come from India. The civil service does not work there. Like, I have seen what happens when it takes weeks or months to get things approved and to get basic tasks happening. And the fact is, the United States federal government, for all the complaints people have, is remarkably efficient compared to a lot of other countries in the world.
That's one of the things that annoys me about the way people talk about this shit. Everybody acts like government is inherently incompetent and that government is not capable of doing things. And this is something that liberals lend to as well. Like, this is a narrative that a lot of people support, is that bureaucracy equals inefficiency. And that's just not true. You know, when you're talking about whether you want government run grocery stores in New York City, like, the government in New York City is actually really good at running stuff. It doesn't mean you need them to run your grocery stores if you don't want, but it's like people act like that that immediately means it's going to be a bad thing. And then you look at New York public schools, and there's plenty to be done to make them stronger, but New York runs their giant public school system extremely well. They're extremely good at it. And of course, people who are getting paid a lot of money by charter schools might not say the same, but objectively speaking, they're run really well. And government services are run really well. The Service Design Center, even in New York City, the New York City government is run extremely well. That's something about the corrupt, crooked Eric Adams administration that people don't talk about very often, is that the city has actually been very good at being the city under Adams. I don't like Adams, but he has very much let the bureaucrats do their thing. And it turns out when the bureaucrats get to do their thing, very often the services provided to New Yorkers work more effectively.
Yeah. You know, people always say to me, like centrist Republicans, all of them, they always say like one of the mistakes that the Biden admin had was that they let the bureaucracy take over. And I tell them, I'm like, first of all, I don't think you realize what that means. That's not an excuse to gut the federal government, firstly. But secondly, the problems that we saw in legislation in past administrations and the complaints that people have over the US government do not have to do with, you know, broadly with like the Social Security employees giving you your check on time. Like, that works pretty well. What you're talking about is Congress passing laws that make it very, very difficult for people to access funds. Congress making it so that, you basically have to lie in order to get your benefits in some cases in America, because they make it impossible for people telling the truth who need it to get those benefits. So people say, okay, fine, well then I'm going to have to just put down certain things so that I can get what I deserve and what I need. That's one thing that people, often conflate, which is that the complaints that they have are not based around the efficiency of the federal government so much as the processes that politicians have put into place. That's different, as you said, from the bureaucrats. When the technocrats run things actually go fine. And what Musk and Doge have done is they've done immense damage to the idea that if you just, let the government run and remove the red tape so that the competent people can do their thing, that things would work fine. And this is the thing, I hate Eric Adams, but he kind of let New York City bureaucrats at least run their own thing. His problems are in corruption, which is elsewhere.
This is something that people need to fucking get over. And this is something people need to grow up about, is that bureaucracy is not a cuss word, and the government can do things very well. It can also do things poorly. But this idea that more government involvement in certain things means it's going to be less efficient or less effective is fanciful. And people from all political ideologies lend to this narrative that ultimately leads to Americans and people all around the world getting less access to care, very often life-saving care, even more often care that's going to make their lives better. I have to go do Chuck Todd's podcast now, but I want to say something real quick before we go. There are people on Bulwark Reddit who are talking shit about the fact that I've been holding my microphone for the past couple months. You can see right now I have my mic stand back. It's because I have been on the road. I have been traveling around, and a tripod is not an easy thing to carry around. So I'm back with my tripod right now. Next week, I will not be back with my tripod. But somebody said oh, Cameron wants to hold his mic in his hand because I think he thinks it looks trendy. So, you think I want to hold the mic in my hand? Do you know how I talk? I talk like this. This is what I do with my hands when I'm talking. Okay? So, no, I don't like holding the microphone in my hands. And that is
we're making you an honorary Indian, just for the record, because we're also unable to speak without moving our hands.
Listen, I know more Hindu gods than 99.999% of non-Hindus. So I'm with you right there. And with that, not unlike Shiva, we will destroy this episode. Everybody, I'm Cam Kasky. This is Lakshya Jain. Like and subscribe. We'll see you all soon.